God, I love the birds in this state. Oh my God. He literally just caught a snake. I don't know if that translates, but he is eating a snake. My wife will be thrilled with this bird. That's crazy. Good morning. So coming to you from the parking lot of Saratoga Springs Resort. I'm excited to be here. This is turned into, right now, frankly, it's my favorite resort to come do my walks at. And in case you're new to the channel, you're a new subscriber, I've been doing, trying to reach a daily goal of at least 10,000 steps a day after I got on my weight loss journey that started when I went to Epic Universe back in late April and was able to get on the vast majority of rides there. So I've been on this theme park weight loss journey since then, and coming to the resorts and getting a large majority of my steps in has been a big part of that. So I figured since I'm coming here and doing these walks several times a week, that I would take you guys with me and show you around what has become one of my favorite resorts. Now, I will say we do plan on doing one of our staycation only resort stays at Saratoga Springs. I don't know if we'll get it done in 2026. That will be coming up. So this is just going to be very much like an exterior of the resort tour, like the highlights that I see when I'm walking on it. I'm going to skip the interiors and save that for when we do finally stay here, whether it's next year or at some point after. So we're not going to show the Turf Club. I'm not going to show the quick service restaurant. Rest assured, all that is still here. This resort also has the DVC Preview Center where you can come check out, like mock-ups of what DVC rooms are like. Obviously not going to go into any of the rooms themselves or the treehouse villas. We will walk around the treehouse villas though. So you'll see the pools, the exterior grounds. I'll just point out some highlights and some history, and let's just go explore the resort together. All right, so like most Disney resorts, this place is absolutely gigantic. In terms of room count, I don't think it's in the top 5. It might be. I know some of the resorts have well over 2,000 rooms. This place clocks in at just over 1,300, and that includes the treehouse villas. Where it does get the size, though, is just in its overall footprint, because it's very much also a golf course resort. You can see here, it's just surrounded by the, I think it's the Buena Vista Springs golf course. So, and you'll see that as we're walking around. But I think our first stop is, we're right here, let's see, literally right here in the main area. The lobby and the main building, the main pool is all across the street over there. So we're going to walk up and just skirt the main lobby, and we're going to come over here to the grandstand area, show that pool, and then we're going to go, one of our first stop is the Treehouse Villas. So let's get going. All right, as I make my way to the path to the Treehouse Villas, which is down here, just wanted to show you guys, if you were checking into the hotel, this is where you'd pull up, unload your cars. Bell Services is here, and the main lobby is right in that building right there. And then they do have a golf club here. They also have a boat that takes you to Disney Springs. We'll get to that later. Looks like you rent your golf cart down here, and I suspect you would park. Well, frankly, I'm not sure where you would park to play golf. That's going to be something you're going to have to research on your own, but golf cart rentals are definitely down this little path right here. Let's keep heading over to the Treehouse Villas. So as I approach the first neighborhood here, you can already see there's part of the one of the holes, one of the fairways, and one of the golf courses. And then there's also one of the first quiet pools. I'll show you when we get a little closer. Fortunately, these maps are everywhere in the resort, so we've now made it over here. We're about to go into the grandstand area, and the pool is right away on your right when you enter. The thing I like about this quiet pool, and this resort has 3, technically, 4 if you include the one in the Treehouse Villas. Now that's 4 quiet pools in addition to the main activity pool, which is just outside the lobby. So a grand total of 5 swimming pools. Pretty great. They're all pretty unique. I'll show them all. The other thing I like about this pool, though, this quiet pool, is it's one of 2 quiet pools that has its own snack bar where you can get a cocktail, you can get some food. It is open seasonally, but as of last week, it was still open. Let's see if it's open this morning. All right, well, as we push into October, I don't know what the season is, but the snack bar at this quiet pool is still open. Here is the quiet pool. I don't linger too long on swimming pools. I like to give people their privacy, but it's nice. It's got some fountains on it. And they have another separate area for a kiddie splash pool over here. So it's nice that the main pool is too crowded. This is a very short walk away. I only discovered this pool on one of my recent walks, so yeah, that's one of the things I love about this resort. It's constantly revealing new secrets to me. But anyways, the march to the treehouse villas continues, and we'll see when we get closer. So it's 82 degrees out this morning, which makes this perfect temperature. I'm not gonna lie, it's still pretty humid, but compared to what we've had in recent months, it does make for perfect weather to take these walks. In terms of how I do these, obviously I have a day job. I use my lunch break to do these walks. Pretty simple. We are that close to Disney property that it just takes me a few minutes to get on. I come and I knock these out. Usually takes about an hour, sometimes just a tad over, and then I'll work a little longer to make up for the difference. But as you can see, here's some gentlemen playing golf. Good day to do it, not too hot. And then a lot of the buildings just back right up onto the holes. Very, very serene, scenic view. And then, I don't know if you can just see it over there, that's the river that takes you to Old Key West and Riverside, French Quarter, not to mention Disney Springs. In fact, there is one of the friendship boats. You can just see it coming around the bend. There he is. So when you stay here, you're not just limited to the resort itself. You really have access to this bigger ecosystem that includes those resorts I just mentioned, plus Disney Springs. So, anyways, we're gonna walk. There's some overlap here with the golf course, and we're gonna head over to the treehouse villas. And just like that, it's almost like we're entering a different world here. There's this like little boardwalk in here and the first couple treehouse villas. Now I think there's about 80 of these things. Interesting history on these. These predate the Saratoga Springs Resort. At one point, believe it or not, they were actually used for the college program. They house international college students that were working at the theme parks. Would love to see how that worked. And then when the Saratoga Springs was built out as a DVC resort, they were actually added to that. So they became part of the DVC you could buy into. And I guess that really ticked off a lot of the original buyers here at Saratoga Springs because of the age of the tree houses and just their special unique nature. It jacked up the maintenance fees for people that own here, and it also increased by about 1,000 points the pool, and I could be wrong on that number, but it vastly increased the pool of available points to stay at this resort, which I guess is a bad thing for the economics of DVC. I'm not really sure how that works, but that's what I read on Wikipedia. It is very quiet on the treehouse loops, especially on a weekday, which I love. And speaking of quiet, one of the other quiet pools that I mentioned is just around the corner here, so I'm going to keep you guys with me for a second. I have yet to see, and today's the exception. Until today, I'd never seen anybody using this pool. And here we go. There's a first time for everything. There is a very small, quiet pool over here. You usually have it to yourself. There's also a hot tub. No snack bar at this place, though. So, be advised. But this loop is just surrounded by the treehouse villas. Like I said, there's 80 in total. The little mini loop I'm doing right now, probably being exposed to about half of them, so one of the other cool things about the tree houses, and here's a couple more. They sleep 9, by the way. I don't know if I said that already. I think there's a couple bedrooms inside. We have not stayed there yet. It is on our bucket list. But one of the nice things about the treehouse villas is they have their own dedicated friendship boat ferry stop. So you can come out here, hop on the boat, and it'll take you to, I believe, just Disney Springs. No, it'll take you to Disney Springs and the main boat launch for Saratoga Springs, the main hotel. So pretty convenient if you're a treehouse guest. And look how serene it is out here. Now there are a few tree houses that actually have a river view. If I were staying here, they would be the ones that I would request. I'm sure they're in high demand, but I think it'd be worth it. Okay, so the tree houses, we've left those behind. That's the first quiet pool I showed you guys. This resort walk is kind of split up into like 3 different zones. There's the tree houses, which we already saw. Then we're going to head across sort of this main bridge and kind of where the bulk of the rooms are. And then the final area is kind of where the views of Disney Springs are. So, just due to the nature of the walk, this is the only area I kind of have to repeat. It's about a half a mile, but I don't mind it because look how pretty it is here. There's also some Florida wildlife out today. God, I love the birds in this state. Oh my God. He literally just caught a snake. I don't know if that translates, but he is eating a snake. My wife will be thrilled with this bird. That's crazy. I feel like I'm posting a Nat Geo documentary. That's bananas. Like, he's not guzzling it down, but he definitely got one. There it goes. Wow. That's insane. Just another day at the golf course around here. Anyways, we're gonna head up this path back to the main lobby. I'll show you the main swimming pool and then we'll continue the walk. Alright, so main lobby up there. Here is the main pool. Like I said, I'm not gonna linger too long on this because I like to give people their privacy, but this pool is awesome. It's got like this nice wall of waterfalls here. The water slide's built in. It's kind of got like this quarry thing going on in that it's like sunk down. It's got a nice zero entry walk-in pool. It's just a really nice environment. I will say this is a Monday morning and seats do fill up here. So if you want a spot at the pool, I advise you to get here early or go to one of the many quiet pools we've been talking about. All right, back to the sign we started at. We're back here in this area. We've walked all through the grandstand area. We did this loop over here at the tree houses, came back, backtracked, and now we're back here. Now we're going to do one of my favorite things, if not my favorite thing, is we're going to go across this really long bridge. We're going to go back into what they call the paddock area, and then we're going to loop down into Congress Park, which is the area that most people are probably familiar with if you've seen this resort, because across the river or the lake from Congress Park is where Disney Springs is. But first, let's get to my favorite section, this bridge. I love it over here. And then there's also a super cool quote-unquote quiet pool, and I'll show you why I'm putting air quotes on that and when we get there. I still can't believe we saw a bird eating a snake, y'all. Anyways, I'm stopping here, heading to the bridge, because I have to say, when we do finally stay here, I'm going to request one of these rooms. I love the location. First of all, you're just right across from the main pool in the lobby area. Second of all, you have this nice beautiful view of this lake and this fountain. The other place I'd request is just across this lake. Those rooms I think would be equally good as long as the room was facing this. I saw a huge turtle out here the other day, so there is wildlife here. And you're close to my favorite bridge, not to mention access to the other pool I've been talking about. So let's head over there so you can see what I've been mentioning. Okay, here we go, the approach to my favorite part of this walk. There's my favorite lake. And here's my favorite stretch of the walk. I love this bridge. Look how long it is. It's so scenic. There's something about bridges and being over the water. I love it. This is also on its own scenic bridge over here. Let's get to the middle and I'll do a 360 wraparound view. Okay, so that's where I just came from. Again, main lobby, way down there, over there, past the my favorite lake. Treehouse Villas would be kind of out that way. But I love it. This is one of the most scenic spots in the resort, if not on Disney World property. I just love it over here. I have to say, I would be satisfied with a room here overlooking this lake and also a room here overlooking this. Absolutely gorgeous. You can now see the second quote quiet pool. I say quote because I don't know if you can see it, and we'll get closer, but there is a huge water slide. In fact, this water slide is bigger than the water slide at the main pool, which is something I've never seen at a Disney resort. It's very tall. I think it's a tube slide the entire way down, but we'll get over there in a second. Usually, I think it's too windy today, so I'm sorry I have to deprive you of this, but usually you can see the balloon from Disney Springs. It goes up just above the trees here, and it makes for a wonderful postcard shot. It's also one of the reasons I kind of want to stay in one of these rooms, because if you're on your patio at night having a cocktail looking at this beautiful lake, and these beautiful fountains, and birds eating snakes, you could also see the balloon go up and down all night. It would just make for a really tranquil evening. I love it. And look, I love it. I have the whole bridge to myself right now. This is paradise. This is why we live here, folks. All right, so we made it over here to the paddock area, their pool, and here's that water slide I was talking about. There's one very similar to this. It's Wilderness Campgrounds. I think it's the same kind of style, but I love it. It is cool. It looks like it is definitely a tube slide the whole way, and it's definitely bigger than the one at the main pool here at Saratoga Springs. There's also a splash tab, like wet playground they have over here. And then while the pool isn't as large as some of the other pools, it does, I mean, it boasts this water slide. It does have the paddock grill, which unlike the refreshment stand over at the other pool I showed you, this one is open all year. It's not seasonal. And they have a full bar. You can get the whole spread of cocktails. You can get cheeseburgers, sandwiches, pizzas, the full works. So we don't feel like kind of walking across the bridge by the lake to go to the main lobby to go to the quick service. If you're staying in the paddock area, that's a great alternative for you. In fact, that's probably why they built it, so these people had access to food. Anyways, we're going to continue. We're going to hug around the paddock. There's some really nice paths along the lake here, and then we're going to head down into the final neighborhood is Congress Park, which overlooks Disney Springs. So we're going to head that way. And here we go. So back at the tip of the main bridge, we're in the paddock area, paddock pool. We're going to walk down this path into Congress Park, and then we'll take a look at Disney Springs and check out the pool they have over there. I'm just going to let this run for a few minutes while I do a walk and talk because it's so serene over here. Again, there's that long bridge. I will say this is a DVC resort, obviously. That doesn't mean you can't stay here. You can rent it out. It's just a regular hotel. I believe this falls into the deluxe category, so it's pricier than you'd think. It's, I'd say it's not high in the popularity polls with either DVC holders or just Disney guests in general. I think they think there's kind of a lack of Disney theming here. I couldn't disagree more. I love it. Since back in the day, this was the Disney Institute. There used to be private apartments here. There were some villas here once upon a time. There's definitely a lot of old growth with these trees, and it fits the theming for what they're going for. It's supposed to represent horse racing grounds in New York, Saratoga Springs. And the foliage and the trees, it just lends itself to that. I was born in New Jersey as a kid. I have fond memories of fall in the Northeast, and to the extent Florida is capable of recapturing that, this comes close in my book. At least from the perspective of a kid who moved away when he was in the second grade. Either way, there's no doubting how just relaxing and pleasant this is. All right, another look at another beautiful fountain. I will say these are here for more than just aesthetics. These fountains are critical for pest control. They disturb the water, and mosquitoes love standing water. So this creates ripples, prevents the mosquitoes from creating a breeding ground, and we are kept mosquito free, and we have something pretty to look at. So win-win. I love this white picket fence they put in on the edge here of the paddock area. Again, it just gives me Northeast New York, New Jersey vibes, which is absolutely what they're going for, given the theming. But you can see there's just a little street here. We're going to cross over that, and then we will be in Congress Park. Okay, made it across the street. There's the paddock over there. This road takes you back again to the main building, the EBC Cell Center, the lobby, the main pool. But if you follow this path along, you're going to be in Congress Park. On the other side of this would be Disney Springs. We'll get there in a minute. What I like to do here, though, is I like to hug the parking lot side of these buildings. Go all the way to the edge, and it basically links up with the path that takes you from this resort to Disney Springs. If you were going to be walking to Disney Springs as a guest here, this is where you'd eventually end up. So let's head over to that path, and then we'll be on the other side where Disney Springs is, and we'll show that off as we near the final third of our journey. Okay, very close to the edge here. Well, in fact, we're at the edge. That is the edge of the Congress Park buildings, at least on this side. Parking lot. Another fountain. But this is the path I was talking about. Looks like this is the last light, which is why this is closed from dusk till dawn. A little miniature nature trail, but this links up with the path that's just in front of these buildings, that leads you directly into Disney Springs, and the boat launch that would take you to Old Key West or Port Orleans Riverside and or French Quarter if you wanted to do that. Not to mention a boat back to the main boat launch of Saratoga Springs, or the Treehouse Villas for that matter. A lot of boat activity, long story short. I've never seen another person walking on this path, so I kind of love it. You really feel like you're back in the thick of nature here. I wonder if we'll see another snake getting eaten. That's definitely the lead for this video. In fact, I think I'm going to put the footage of that at the very front of this video for like 10 seconds. To grab the attention of my viewers. So if you've made it this far, maybe that kept you around. Or maybe it turned you off, I don't know. I'm going to do it anyways. So here we are. We're emerging out of the Amazon forest over here. And here's the boat docks. And here's the path I was talking about. So this would take you just up around, and in about 3 minutes you'd be at the security checkpoint to go into Disney Springs, or you could come down that ramp and get on one of the boats to the stops I mentioned. And there we see Disney Springs in all of its vastness. So if you want access to Disney Springs, if that's your priority and you're staying in Saratoga, you're going to want to target this building specifically in Congress Park. And when you check in, don't be afraid to whip out a map and say, I want to stay here. And say, hey, I want to stay here and I want this view. You'd probably have to pay extra for this view. But they'll do their best to accommodate you. You can watch the boats go by, hear the concerts happening, watch people drinking at the boathouse. I have to say, this is a very appealing way, I think, to stay at Saratoga. And I think for most of the time we've been here, that's what I'd desire to do. But now that I've seen those interior areas of the resort that I showed you back in the paddock where those fountains are in the lake, I'm kind of tilting that way. But there's certainly a lot of benefit to staying over here. It's a nice dynamic view. And again, I would want something with a balcony looking directly at this. Right now, this would be my second choice. Those other areas would be my first. All right, we've made it over to one of my favorite rest areas in this resort. I love these rocking chairs right here. And it's kind of like deck area they've built up. There's a nice fountain here. There is the third and final pool. I'll show you more of that in a second. But yeah, this is just a nice viewing spot of Disney Springs. The balloon, yeah, definitely down, I think, for the wind. This is a great place to watch the drone show last summer when they were doing that. In fact, we did come over here. You were watching it in reverse, but they still had the speakers over here pumping out the sound. I'll put a link to that show from this vantage point in the comments below, so check that out. But let's go over, and again, I just love this little fountain. But again, I'm not going to show too much of this pool because, again, people are using it. I wouldn't want to be filmed, so we're not going to do that. But it's a nice, I mean, look at their view. That's the entrance. There's Disney Springs. You can't beat that. Unlike the other, in fact, that's all I'm going to show you. It's just a nice big swimming pool. It's pretty crowded. Unlike the other quiet pools here, though, there's no snack bar, so keep that in mind if you're hoping to get refreshments at this pool. Not going to happen. You will have to make the relatively long walk to the lobby and go to the quick service, or just stock your kitchen full of supplies, which is the nice thing about these DVC rooms. They come stocked with a full kitchen. Ingredients not included. Oh, I should also point out, though, that this pool this isn't a wet playground. This is just a full-on playground, dry. So you would have access to that, too. But, like, yeah, like, how great would it be to stay? Even on the bottom floor here, you might not have the view. I mean, I think actually you would. But to just be able to walk out of your back porch and have access to the pool right there, pretty spectacular. So as I kind of wrap up the portion of Disney Springs that has a nice view of, well, Disney Springs, I just want to show you one of my favorite parts along here. At the very end, it dead ends on the path into this beautiful little gazebo, or a gazebo, as my sister Amanda Lee would say. I love it. This is so serene. Never, ever, ever seen anybody else back here. I'm sure it does get utilized, but I've never had to fight for it. My only complaint, only one bench. I would have liked to see benches all around here. But again, since I've been the only one back here using it, hasn't been a problem. And there's the boats coming and going. And again, that's the river that would take you back to all the hotels we've been talking about. Not to mention the boat stop for this very resort, which is just past this parking lot on the right. Here we go, another map check. We just came, the gazebo is at the very point down here. We're right here. I could go up and make a left. I parked back in this area over here, but I'm actually going to backtrack again. I'm going to go back through the paddock because it's the bridge so nice. I'm walking it twice. I'm going to go do that. I'll show you guys a little bit of that footage again because I think it's so pretty. And then I'll walk back to my car and we will call it a day. Again, didn't intend on going into the interior buildings. The boat launch is here. They have tennis courts. We'll show all that stuff, including the interiors, on our resort only stay when we finally get to it. But again, this is just meant to be a walking tour. So let's head over to the paddock and get back to the beauty. Again, just some more of the nature you're going to see here at this resort. Are these turkey vultures or straight turkeys? I don't know. He cocked his head when I said turkey, so maybe I got that wrong. I don't know. They're snake hunting. I sure hope not. It's been a good day for nature. I did see some squirrels. I didn't film those. Nothing's going to top that snake though. Jesus. Anyways, you can see the bridge out there. Almost to it. Again, this is I think of all the zones we've talked about today, this is my favorite one. I really do like it in here. It's just so beautiful. I'll see you guys on the bridge. All right, you guys, home stretch. Back on the bridge. Love it. The amount of nature we've seen today, I'm almost surprised there's not like a freshwater manatee or hell, a killer whale jumping out of this water right now. It's been one for the books. The turkeys were very cool. But yeah, we'll get back to the car and I'll see how many steps we got done and we'll wrap this puppy up. I love these walks. I've got 1 month left till Amber and I go on a cruise with some friends, so I'm making a final push to drop another 10 to 15 pounds, bringing my total up to about 70 pounds lost since April, and these walks have been instrumental in helping me accomplish that goal. So if you've been a part of that journey since the beginning, thank you so much for your support. It's really been awesome. Positivity has outweighed the negativity by a factor of about 1,000 to 1. So that's been a nice treat to see. Again, these are the rooms I would request. I don't know if these are technically in the paddock area. Let's look at the map, which conveniently is coming up. So these rooms, now that we've crossed the bridge, are technically in the Springs neighborhood. So rooms 3501 to 3836 or 4101 to 4436. And I would request a view looking at this body of water. That's just my opinion though. Stay wherever you like. Tree houses are pretty cool. All right, and there you go, back in the car and noticeably much more sweaty. What a great walk. I love it here. The low temperature and the cloud coverage definitely helped with that enjoyment today. I can't wait until it gets down in like the crisp 70s. Yes, that does happen here from time to time. I want to come here and walk on some crunchy leaves. So it says I'm at 8,500 steps for the day. I think I had about 1,000 of those before I started this walk. So that journey that, if you made it this far, you came along with me on, was about 7,500 steps. Pretty good. And better than just going in a complete circle like I do at Coronado. Not to knock Coronado. That's still probably my favorite resort walk. Guys, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I can't wait to stay here. If you stayed here, let me know what your impressions of the resort were. Where in the resort did you stay? Where would you recommend staying? What were your overall vibes? I really appreciate that advice. I know so would Amber. Do everything the YouTubers say. Definitely leave the comments I just requested if you can. like, share. If you're watching this on a phone, you can do this thing called Hype us. You can do 5,000 things. I just found that out a few days ago. I'm still learning. Above all else, we'd love for you to subscribe and follow us along on our adventures long term. We do Disney content. We do Universal content. Occasionally we travel. As I mentioned a little bit earlier on this walk, we're heading out on a cruise. Our first mega cruise ever. So that should be fun. And we'd love to have you along for those journeys. So, until next time, everybody, have fun storming the castle. And as my beautiful wife would say, and I wish she was here with me today, stay magical.